So I remember years ago, I went with my great grandmother to the census place, the Census Bureau. And we looked up some information about her side of the family because she did not know her grandmother. Her grandmother either died before my great grandmother was born. My great grandmother raised me, so I knew my great grandparents. I was fortunate enough to know my great grandparents, and I was happy that I did have an opportunity to know them. Okay. But my great grandmother, she raised me. We called her Mama. And Mama wanted to know information about her grandmother. Mama Laura was her grandmother's name. So we went to the Census Bureau and we looked up the information, and I cannot believe that I never really connected the dots. This was years ago. This was over 20 years ago. I cannot believe that I did not connect the dots. But now that I look at things in retrospect, everything is making sense now. And this is why I'm coming to make this video. Because we as black people, we've been taught one thing about who we are. But what if it's really a narrative that has been spun and spinned and regurgitated so we could create a reality for ourselves that would benefit the others so they could manifest off of our energy and manifest off of our energy through our so-called trauma. So back to the story at the Census Bureau, we looked up her grandmother's information, and I realize now that not only does that mean that I'm native to this motherfucking land, that I am a true Native American, okay? Not talking about the racial features. I'm talking about being native to this land because I can go back 3 generations, and I did, and my great 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 grandmother was born in this country. That's number one. Number two, what I found interesting, and as I stated, when I look back at things in retrospect, what I find interesting is that when we looked up the census information, and if I'm not mistaken, if she were a slave, it would have been indicated on that census card. Mama Laura, my great 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 grandmother, she was born in 1858 in Virginia, or 1859, one of them. At that time, so called slavery was still legal, to my knowledge, because I believe, no, I know the Civil War wasn't fought until between 1863 and 1865, one of those years. Let me look it up because I want to be correct. I don't want to, but I think it was 1865, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. The Civil War was okay. The Civil War started in 1861, excuse me, and it ended in 1865. Okay, okay. So it started in 1861. My grandmother was born in 1858 or 1859, just a few years before the Civil War started. Okay, granted, there was no indication on her birth on the census records that she was a slave. Okay, and I'm not even here to dispute whether she was a slave or not. That's not really the point. I'm an occultist, and I like to look beyond what's in front of our face. So I don't go by human logic or what human beings say and take that as face value, because I know that there's always a story behind a story, and I know that there's always another energy or another agenda behind another agenda, whichever way you want to look at it. Okay? So I was thinking about this earlier today. I don't know why. Earlier tonight, I don't know why I was thinking about it. But I was wondering, could the narrative that we have been fed about slavery, could that have been, could it have been a form of mind control to distract us and to get us to create a reality for ourselves? And the reality that we created is the one that we're in now, where black people don't like each other, black people are paranoid of each other, black people are so, motivated and so more, so much more apt to go out and date interracially to escape other black people. All of these things are attributed to what we call post-traumatic slave syndrome, or whatever they call it, or the Willie Lynch curse. Because the Willie Lynch doctrine, some people say it's a hoax, tomato, but at the end of the day, what is written in that doctrine has manifested in our lives globally for black people. We don't like each other. We treat each other bad. We treat others better than we treat each other. You know, we have young black people versus old black people, this, that, this. But I was thinking about something as an occultist because, like I said, I look at things from an occult view. I look at things from an occultist view. That's why I call my channel The Occult View. I'm not disputing or saying that there weren't black slaves. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that black people did not suffer great brutalities and trauma. I'm not saying that either. What I am saying is, what if, in the midst of the truth, we were also fed a lot of bullshit so we could create a reality for ourselves where the others could take advantage of our ignorance about our true history and manifest off of our energy through our trauma and get us to create a reality that's based off of a false doctrine or a false trauma that may not have been the narrative in totality, if that makes sense. Let me say it again where y'all will understand it. What if what we've been taught about slavery is not exactly true? What if we've been bullshitted about slavery? That's what I'm saying. And what if the narratives that we have been fed over the years about slavery, what if that all was nothing more than a big motherfucking ritual to get us to create this reality that we live in now? But because we believe everything that we hear and everything that we see, we can't get out of this motherfucking reality that we're in now, that we help to create with our divine minds as black people. And see, one of the things that I really stopped doing too, one of the things that I really stopped doing too, and I'm not telling other people to stop doing it, I stopped doing it. I stopped using the word white supremacy. And one of the reasons I stopped using that, I mean, I know we have to use it to reference things. I haven't totally stopped using it. But when I use it with a different mindset because number one, there's nothing supreme about white people. I'm just saying, I don't look at them as being supreme. In my mind, when I think of superheroes, I think of black men. I think of black heterosexual men, who are not homophobic, of course, who ain't, but they're heterosexual, And I've said that before. When I think of, you know, superhero men, I think of men like Darren Seals. Like I told you, I think of men like Christopher Barry. I think of men like Tupac Shakur being in the Superman persona. I think about men like that. Those are the men that I look at as heroes. Okay? I'm just saying. So I don't like using that word white supremacy because words have power and they have energy behind them, and that's part of the mind control and the spell right there. The fact that we think that these people are supreme, that we think that there's something supreme or divine about them when there's not. At least not most of them, it's not. Nothing divine about them. At least I know it's not. But we've been mind controlled to believe this, myself included. I grew up in the 1980s as well. I was born in 1979, you know? So I came up on shows like Wonder Woman and shit like that. Now, when I think of Wonder Woman, now that I'm conscious, when I think of a character like Wonder Woman, I think of a black woman being in that role. I think of a black woman being the true Wonder Woman. You feel what I'm saying? So that is why I had to remove the word white supremacy out of my vocabulary, because it doesn't just describe racist brutality against black people perpetrated by them, but it also has an energy behind it that gives them power over us. Hence, it keeps them in power in this twisted, fucked up reality that we helped to create because we believed the lies that they showed us, told us, and wrote down on paper. You feel what I'm saying? So here's where I'm really going with this. Changing your reality. Changing your reality. And I know people, this may sound crazy. Yeah, see a Grant, he crazy. I don't give a fuck though. I don't give a fuck about that. But here's where I'm going with it. Slavery, in my mind, and let me be clear about something. I'm not dismissing the brutality and the trauma and the horrible things that happened to black people. But in my mind, I'm going to say slavery never fucking happened. I'm going to erase that shit in my subconscious mind. I'm going to say it never happened. Now remember, I'm looking at it from an occult and a magical perspective. That is how I'm looking at this. I'm not looking at it from a human rational, a human rational perspective where people can go and look up and say, well, it did happen because it's right here. They put a lot of shit out there. They put a lot of narratives out there that are not exactly true. Now, let me be clear about something. I'm not saying that they haven't pillaged and killed and murdered. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But what if, just what if, just what if, and I'm gonna say it again. What if the narratives that have been spun, what if this web that has been spun, and I may be using the wrong word, but I don't give a fuck. But what if the narrative that has been spun around us, this web of deception that has been spun around us like a web from a deceptive spider, what if this narrative is not exactly what we think? Not saying and discounting that there were slaves, not saying that that didn't happen in some form or another, and definitely not giving any motherfucking excuses to those motherfuckers. But I'm looking at it from an occult aspect once again. and how they use spells, magic, mind control to create certain narratives so we can react to it and create a reality based upon that. That is why I say in my reality, slavery never fucking happened. That is what I say. And the evidence of that in my reality is when I went to the Census Bureau and pulled up my great great grandmother Laura's information, and there was nothing there to indicate that she was a slave. Slavery in my reality did not happen. And that's where I'm going with this in totality about changing your reality. Because if you can change your reality, you can take out the people that don't belong in your fucking reality. It's not about disproving disproving slavery. It's not about that. It's not about disproving or proving that slavery happened. That's not what it's about. It's about changing your reality. And sometimes we have to go back into our subconscious mind and we have to go back in time to change the reality that we're in now. Sometimes we have to do that through meditation and shit, and through our dreams and traveling, outside of our bodies and going into different realities and pulling certain realities here that are beneficial for us. And that is what I have been doing. And when you do that, you can take motherfuckers out of your reality that don't belong in your reality, including the others. That is why I say slavery did not exist in my reality, and it never did. And that's the point that I'm making. It's not about disproving brutality and stuff that our people went through. It's nothing like that. I'm looking at it from a magical occult perspective. That's how I'm looking at it. I don't give a fuck how any of you other motherfuckers out there look at it. This is the occult view. This is not, the human view. And see, that's the problem with a lot of us as black people. We have been tricked and lied to about so much, and we believe whatever these people tell us. And their goal is to give us information, whether it be false or not, but mainly false, so we can react to it, and they can feed and manifest off of our trauma. And then that way we can create a reality based upon that trauma that they can exist in. And that reality will be beneficial for them. Hence the reality that we're living in now. Because we've been told that we're slaves, that we don't amount to anything, that we're broke, that we're poor, that we're this, that we're that you gotta work hard to make money, which is bullshit, because I don't work no motherfucking hard to make no motherfucking money. Okay? I don't work hard to make no motherfucking money. I do my motherfucking voodoo, and my voodoo works for me. My ancestors work for me. And that's the motherfucking truth. So I don't work hard for no motherfucking money at all. That's another lie that we've been told as black people. You gotta work hard. You gotta work hard for that money. You gotta work hard for that. That's why so many black people lack prosperity, because we think like slaves. What if that was the biggest motherfucking deception of the fucking century? To get us to think and act and react like slaves. based upon a narrative that may not entirely be true. That is why I say, in my reality, there was no slavery and there is none. That is why I say that. And the point of this video is changing your reality. That's the point that I'm making. Change your fucking reality. And the way you do that is by changing what you think you know and disbelieving and reprogramming your subconscious mind about what you think you know. And stop believing the lies or believing what's right in front of you and start questioning that shit and questioning these illusions that's put in front of you. Once you start doing that, then you can begin to reprogram your mind and say things as simple as this: that shit didn't exist in my motherfucking reality, so that has nothing to do with me. No matter what's going on around you, we are responsible for our own fucking reality. We're responsible for creating the reality that we live in. And you have to take responsibility for how you live in your reality. It's up to you. In my reality, I'm motherfucking God. I'm a God, I'm a Titan, I'm all powerful, and I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. Can't no other stop me from doing anything. Can't no other do anything to me. Okay? There's a lot more I could say about that, but I'm not going there. Not yet. Y'all ain't ready for it all. But the point that I'm making is this: it's about changing your reality. And you change your reality by disconnecting and disbelieving, I'm going to say disbelieving the bullshit that you've been taught, that we've been taught. Stop believing it. Start to question that shit. And once you start doing that, you can start reprogramming your subconscious mind. Because once you start questioning it and saying, well, wait a minute, what if that's not the narrative? What if that's not the entire truth? Once you start doing that, then that programming will start breaking down. And you'll be able to see clearly. You know, in that movie The Matrix, I would have been the Oracle. Because that's what oracles do. We're able to see past the bullshit. We're able to see past what other, we're able to see past the beyond. We go past that. We can see past all that bullshit that's being propagated. You know? Now I know what people are going to think. Well, there have been people who had lived who were slaves, and this and that may be so. I'm not disputing that. But I'm saying in my motherfucking reality, slavery didn't exist. It did not exist in my motherfucking reality. None of that bullshit existed in my fucking reality. Others don't exist in my fucking reality. They don't exist. And the few that do, they bow to me as their motherfucking God. I'm their God. I don't bow to them. See, in the reality that a lot of people live in, they're bowing to others. Talking about black people. They're bowing to others. In my reality, the others bow to me because I'm their motherfucking God. That's how it goes. Because I changed my reality. I changed my reality. And I can tell y'all a little bit more about that, but I ain't really getting too much into that, you know. But there is a way you can change your reality. There are rituals you can do and shit like that that you can change your reality, but I'm not sharing it here on YouTube. I'm not doing that. If you want to know, you got to hit me up privately. And I'm talking to gay men, gay black men in particular. If you want to know, you got to hit me up, you know. But anyway, that's all I really wanted to say. You know, it's about changing your reality. It's not about disproving this or disproving that. It's about you being in control of your own reality and you creating the narrative, you creating the culture, you creating what you want around you, and not allowing some outsider to dictate what you should be and what you should believe, because that's the reason we're in the predicament that we're in as black people now, because we believe what others have told us about ourselves. We believe that bullshit. So it's about reprogramming your mind and taking back your own fucking power and creating your own reality where you are God, where you are a titan, where you control things. That's what it's all about, at least in part, creating your own reality. And as I stated earlier, in my reality, others don't exist. And the ones that do, they're only here to bow to me, their black God. Slavery did not exist in my reality. Poverty never existed in my reality. Racism does not exist in my reality. Only black people exist in my reality. In my reality, it's nothing but a constant motherfucking party. Pure fucking nirvana, nothing but niggas having fun. Okay? Y'all get what I'm saying? You hear my words, but you understand what I'm saying? It's as simple as that. Because we have power, but we've been mind controlled to believe, oh, that doesn't work, that's crazy, or you should bullshit. I'm living proof that it works. I I'm living proof that it works. You can change your fucking reality, but the first thing you have to do is recognize that you're living in a reality that was created for you. The reality that we're living in was created for us through our trauma and through our ignorance of not knowing who we really are and not having the information that we should have had. See, when I went down to that Census Bureau with my great grandmother, I didn't know it then. Now I do, that was my ancestor getting me to go down to that census place to look at that information to show me, to show us that the narrative that we have been living in and the energy that we've aligned ourselves in is not the true fucking narrative, and it's not the true nature of who we are as a people. And I'm only speaking from my own family. That's what that was all about. Slavery does not exist, and it did not exist in my reality, and neither do the others. And I'm going to keep saying that motherfucking shit. They don't exist. And the ones that do, they bow to me, their black God. And that's just the way it is. Anyway, this is the Occult View, aka Sia Grant, and I'm out. Thanks for watching.